Alright, The Last of Us. When I first heard of this game, my expectations were low. It's another zombie game is what I was thinking. And so, I didn't even have a PS3 at the time when it came out, so I just didn't think much of it. I didn't play it until it came out for the PS4, and it's one of the reasons I bought a PS4. I heard the game was really good, Game of the Year, that kind of thing. And I could play it again. I could play it again right now, even though there's lots of good games coming out now. Lots of movies, summer blockbusters. But I keep coming back to The Last of Us, and spoiler warning, I'm going to spoil the game, but who hasn't played it at this point? The narrative's almost perfect. I thought it was great. It's great to see a game with such great characterization. It's an example of why I don't like non-linear games for storytelling. I prefer it to be linear. And honestly, I prefer there to be little choice. Because then it stays true to the character. Unless it's like a game where you choose your own character. But if you're playing as a character, then I prefer there to be very little choice. Then everything that character does makes sense for that character. Kind of like playing a movie. It reminds me of Alan Wake. I really liked Alan Wake. Hope there's a sequel someday. One of my favorite games, and it has a similar feel to Alan Wake and the way the story is told. And this game kept surprising me, but unlike a lot of games that have, or stories for that matter, just have random surprises that don't make any sense, every surprise made sense. Every surprise fit the narrative. It surprised me when Joel's biological daughter died, but hey, it's the apocalypse, that makes sense. I was surprised when Tess died, but it makes sense. They're in the middle of the apocalypse, and that wasn't as surprising as the initial death of Joel's daughter. I really like Tess, though. I kind of wish they had kept her in the game a little bit longer. Maybe it's stretched out her characterization a little more. And in the winter level is amazing. I could play the winter level right now, even though I'm gonna play Bloodborne, I'm gonna play Witcher 3, but I could go back to The Last of Us easy at any moment. Like the winter level, I was surprised when you play as Ellie, but it makes sense to see it from her side of things, and also it comes almost more of a horror element because she's more defenseless. Well, one major criticism for the game is the way it treats food. Like they keep finding canned food and eating it, but it all takes place 20 years after the apocalypse started. Except canned food doesn't last that long, so it doesn't make any sense. Like canned food maybe 5 years, but that's really pushing it, depending what it is. And even a lot of different ways of storing food can't keep it fresh for 20 years. So if it's in a can, it's garbage. It's swamp food or something. Everyone is constantly scavenging in the game, but again, 20 years have gone by. I'm thinking at that point, there's not much left to scavenge. I mean, at that point it's going to be whatever you can make, whatever you can grow, whatever you can build from scratch yourself. And I wish there might have been a little bit more of that in the game. Or if they do a sequel, I hope they do a little bit more of that. They kind of did that with the part where they fixed the electrical plant. But I mean, they would need big gardens to feed themselves, or a lot of hunting. And fishing, that kind of thing. Because it's like, oh, I found some more canned food from 20 years earlier, forget it. It just doesn't make sense. But, as far as criticisms go, I'm nitpicking here. The narrative is so good. The way that she becomes the surrogate daughter, and of course the ending, and again, huge spoilers, but this is where I'm really glad they didn't give you a choice. They forced you to save her at the expense of possibly everyone else. But again, it makes sense that's what the character would have done, irregardless of what the player may have chosen to do. I mean, saving his daughter is what he would have done. It's the only thing that makes sense for the character of Joel. What a great game. I still come back to it years later. I could play that game probably years from now. Alan Wake is like that for me too. I could play Alan Wake again. Alright, so take it easy, but here's a magic trick. I'm gonna make my hair disappear. That's right. Okay, that's it, I'm done.